it would have been really great if it had worked out, if that trust hadn't been broken. That would have been great. And she would be a wonderful friend to someone. She's very loyal. But I don't need that from her, and so I think that's where the rub is like sometimes I'm like, oh God, it feels so awkward because a year ago we were like, she would come up and be like, hey, let's go on a walk and just like talk about ministry and stuff, and now here we are and it's like, hey, how are your kids? You know, like I have to be so intentional about, you know, it just feels so weird. And so I think that's where the struggle is. If I had started off with like the idea like, oh, we're not going to be friends, like we'll just be colleagues, it would probably be like a million times easier. But because I came in and was just like, she needed, you know, I wanted a friend out of my coworkers, and same with Linda. But so I think that's where, I don't know what that looks like or how to fix that in my interacting with them or make peace with that, but I can at least recognize now that that's where the sticking point really is that we had something, it died, we don't acknowledge it, and now we're trying to function in this other new understanding of each other, and it just feels weird. And I also don't want to acknowledge it. Because I don't, it's kind of like that oversharing thing. One, I probably don't want to acknowledge it because conflict. So I'll own that. But two, like, I don't know what it would bring. Like, I don't know what benefit would come from it other than for me to acknowledge out loud to her, like, hey, this happened, right? Like, you feel this too? But I don't know how that would make us better professional realm people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
I hear you. So you're thinking that if you're not acknowledging the mistrust, that maybe organically this relationship will morph into, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I tend not to recommend anybody to jump into a conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, I avoid them assiduously.
And it feels like that whole, like, if I were to bring it up now, she'd be like, you've been harboring that? You know what I mean? Like, it would really look like I had just been, like, seething over, and that's not what's happening, you know? It just feels, it's like when you're fighting with someone and you're like, do you remember that one time you did this? And people are like, oh my God, you're still not over that. Like, thought we moved on.
Yeah. You know, I think it's an interesting dynamic about conflict and distancing. Is that, boy, you know, you have the original conflict, things subside or become manageable. But as soon as there's next time where the tension gets ramped up, you're right back. You're not you're not there.
Right, you're not
where
there
the
anymore.
tension is ramped up, and you're not about that. You're back here with the original injury.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience.
I'm sure.
So, yeah, and I don't know about resolutions and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that mature people can work together.
Yeah.
And even if they don't particularly trust another person, but they can work together. They can get the job done together.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say that I don't trust Angela. I think I do trust her. I just recognize that in our prior relationship, there was a breaking of trust. I can trust her enough to work with her as a colleague.
Okay.
I think that she would have my back, and I have hers, and I trust that she wouldn't. I mean, maybe like one or two people that she talks poorly about me with, but they're like her close friends and whatever. But yeah, I trust her enough You know, I don't, it's not like the phrase like, oh, I can only trust her as far as I can throw her. I don't feel that way. I do trust her. I just recognize that what led us to where we are now is a breaking of previous trust, so.
When I was growing up, I think I may have mentioned that I had 3 sisters
Mm-hmm.
and a mother. And so I observed a lot of female relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time I said, you know, there's just nothing that is more complicated than female relationships. But then, you know, I did some, and have been doing some work and reflecting on the relationship I had with my father, and
Mm-hmm.
the relationship I have with my son. And I said, you know, those relationships are complicated too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the dynamics might be a little bit different, but, you know, they are, and they might get expressed differently.
Yeah.
But, you know, relationships are just complicated.
Mm-hmm. They sure are. They are.
But, you know, it's been interesting to observe women over the years. And, you know, I've had, I guess a lot of women have said, you know, it's easier to relate to men than it is to other women.
I've never found that to be the case in my life.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have many male friends. Yeah, and I just don't. I think boys are just weird. I mean, like, I love Sean and Carl. They're great. But it would be so much easier to interpret them if Daniel was there as my, like, buffer.
Yeah.
And...
You know, give me an example of what you would need interpreted, if you can think of something.
Daniel cues me on when to laugh. You know? Like, when they say something that's, like, supposed to be funny. I'm like, oh. You know, just follow his social cues. Or, like, I can turn to him and be like, what are they talking about? Is this sports? Or, like, what sport is this? Or, you know, we're, like, making references to some person. He's really my interpreter. Because I was raised with all girls, and my parents didn't really encourage us to have guy friends. We didn't have many guy friends on the street, and I have boy cousins, but I didn't see them that often, and mostly, and my whole family on my mom's side is really matriarchal, and on my dad's side it's super matriarchal, so it's just kind of like women for me. And the only male friend I have outside of Daniel is just a really odd man. Like, he doesn't really like sports. He likes wine more than he likes sports, and so he's unique, so he's not like a typical guy's guy. But yeah, I do better with women. Yeah. Men, and one thing I find irritating, I don't know if this is like with all men, but like Daniel has this one friend, Mitch, who I love. He's a great guy, but like the two of them get together and they just argue over just like stupid things. Like, well, sometimes it's not stupid things. They have very different political views, but they just have like debates for fun, and that has never been me. And I don't know if that's a guy thing. Daniel does it with his family. I think I've shared that before, but like I'm like, ugh, gross. I don't want to just like debate with you for fun. Or I'll be like, ask his wife, I'll be like, come on, Katie, let's go like fix dinner or something. Like, you want to take the kids outside to play? It's so boring.
Well, I don't know if it's a guy thing either, but I do recognize that my father had 5 brothers, and then when they were together, that's the way they behaved.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and my father loved to debate.
Mm.
And, you know, I'm more of I like to please and get along.
Yeah, me too.
And plus, it was never much fun to debate him because he was so good at
Mm-hmm.
it. And I was not, you know, I would take one side and he would take the other side. And, you know, he'd be winning. I know he'd be winning. And then all of a sudden, he takes the side that I took. And
You're like, wait,
they're
what's
like,
going
okay.
on here? My mind, my brain.
All right. Debate with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, when I think about my dad and his brothers getting together, he's one of 4 kids, older sister, 2 younger brothers. He's the oldest boy. All they do is just, like, make fun of each other, like, the whole time. That's all it's hilarious. They don't debate, but they just, like, rag on each other, and they still, like, beat on each other and stuff. I'm like, you guys are, like, in your 50s. Stop. But, I mean, it's that whole, now I can think of Bowen theory. Like, it takes them, like, 5 minutes to be 10 years old again.
That's right.
Like,
My father and his brothers were still doing it in their 70s.
Yeah, so I'm sure when my sisters and I still fight, like, we all live under the same roof. So. Oh, man. We went back this weekend and saw, and had dinner with my parents, and Emily was there with her fiance, and Caroline came home.
Oh, wow.
It was like a surprise to Emily, because Emily and Abdul said that they were going to come first, because they were on their way down to North Carolina. And then I texted my mom that morning. I was like, oh, you guys should come over for dinner. And she was like, no, come down to Stafford. So we went down to Stafford. And then when Caroline found out the 2 of us were going to be there, she was like, well, I'm coming home from Randolph Macon. And it's just so funny now to go back to gatherings and just like,
So what do you observe? What did you observe
well,
this
it's
weekend?
so interesting to me that Emily is super competitive with me, and I just have I have never had, and I noticed this even before we did CPE, I've just never had any reason to be competitive with her. But, like, I've cut my hair recently, and my mom was like, oh, Heather, did you curl your hair today? And I was like, oh, no, it's just natural. And my mom was like, it looks so good, oh, I wish. And Emily goes, well, my hair looks like that, too. She's not the only one that has curly hair. And my mom was like, okay. And just like everybody, like Daniel was there too, and everybody just kind of looked at Emily like, really, that's what you're gonna talk about? Okay, like we all just kind of kept going, and I was like, yeah, well, you're right, you do have pretty curly hair. We both get it from Dad, and she was like, yeah.
So you're the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
She's the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's something to that sibling position.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so and then Caroline's the youngest, and so Caroline is, I guess, what you would call, like, the black sheep of the family. She struggled with school and stuff. And I didn't know this, but Mom was making, like, this big to-do about, like, oh, ask Caroline what she had to take an incomplete at the beginning of her fall semester. Or at the end of her fall semester, and so she was, like, finishing. She was like, ask Caroline what she got in that class. And I was like, oh, Caroline, what did you get in that class? And she was like, oh, I got a C, which was better than what I needed. I just needed a D. And I'm like, why did you for what? And she was like, to stay in school. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's like, oh, good, that's great, Caroline, but I had told Daniel earlier with CP and stuff, I was like, I'm not going to feed into my parents' anxiety about Caroline. Like, I definitely see, like, so much focus on her, and I think it keeps her from being able to just, like, live. And so, and Emily and I buy into it, too. Like, our parents will call us and be like, just so you know, Caroline's going to get kicked out of college, and, like, make sure you're checking in on her and asking her how school's going and stuff like that. Or I'll get texts from my mom about my sisters, and they'll just be like, call Emily. Why should I call Emily? Well, because she's freaking out about this. You need to call her. So I'll, like, call Emily. Hey, Emily. And she's, freaking out about something. And I don't know. So I just told Daniel, I was like, I'm not participating in that anymore. Like, if my sisters were to reach out to me and say, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, like, I want to talk to you. Sure. But I'm not going to just, like, call them and be Mom's, like, police officer, follow up. Plus she tries to use us as a spy, me as a spy all the time. Mm-hmm. So what did she tell you? Sister stuff is what I tell my mom a lot. I'm like, she told me stuff I can't tell you. Which my mom's like, fine. If she's dying, you let me know. I'm like, yeah, if she's dying. But that's it. So it was just so interesting, and watching my dad trying to accept that Abdul was going to become a part of our family. Watching both of them, I mean, I would like to give them Parent of the Year award because
Your parents.
my parents in this category of accepting someone, because golly, have they made like leaps and bounds. I mean, a year ago they refused to even meet him, and now my dad's calling him like my new son, like, and they're trying so hard, and I think they're succeeding. Like, I feel like it's working, but yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how that relationship's progressed. So that's been interesting to watch.
So does that seem genuine?
I think
Or
it's a
forced?
fake it till you make it kind of
Okay.
thing. I think, and all of us are kind of in that place, and we've all kind of shared that with Emily. Like, we like him, we're still worried about his baggage that he has, we love you, we're gonna try and make this work. And of course Emily's not pleased with that, because you want the person that you bring home to be your husband, you want everybody to just like love them, because you love them. But she's like, okay, like, if that's where you guys are, okay. I can't force you to, I mean, she tried super hard to force us to be further along, but, no, yeah, I think they're a fake it till they make it, and I try really hard not to, like, push my parents on it, you know, I don't, like, ask them how they really feel. I don't know, I just don't feel like that's my place right now. Because I kind of feel like when you're faking it till you make it, if somebody's like constantly asking you, but like, how do you really feel about it? It makes it even harder to fake it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think you're right. Give them credit for what they're trying to do.
yeah.
And I never felt that the pushing or pulling people.
Yeah, it
Works.
doesn't work. Emily figured that out, kind of. That's her big thing, is she's a real big pusher. Of whatever. Boyfriends, her political agenda, how she thinks we should eat. She's just very pushy. Which is fine. We all have our things. I'm sure if they were sitting in here, they would have things to say about me.
But I couldn't tell you because of
Right,
sister
it would
stuff.
it would be sister stuff. Can't tell you, Mom. Sister stuff. But it was good. I was happy to go home and get to see them, and I actually learned. So Abdul's from Pakistan, and he's been trying to get into programs. But I thought he was going to be leaving this summer, and no, he has his visa runs up at the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes. I wish I had remembered. I'm sure she told me, but I had forgotten, and I wish I had remembered that when she told me that they got engaged, because it makes so much more sense now of why she like wanted it to happen. Because I was telling Daniel, I was like, God, they're just rushing it. They've just been dating for a year. I don't know why she's like freaking out about it. And then when she was like, oh, we're gonna have a goodbye party for Abdul, I was like, why? Where is he? Where are you going? Like, back to visit your family? And she was like, yeah, indefinitely until we find. And I was like, sorry. It's like, I'm not with it, and I just felt kind of bad, but it made a lot more sense. So I hope that she will continue to thrive after he leaves. I have a big fear that she will just. I'm not going to put that anxiety on her. She'll have her own stuff to worry about, but.
Well, it seems like you're making use of what you're learning.
Yeah, it's great. I was thinking today that I'm going to look up Bowen stuff to see what I can continue after CPE's over. The stuff in DC. Because I'm kind of close to there.
Yeah.
Leesburg's not that
Yeah,
far.
it's not that far.
I could do stuff every once in a while, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Good.
All right.
Time's up.
Our time is up.
And I made it without crying. Note that in your things.